even if she is not your type. Story 1. If a woman approaches me, she will get a lot of bonus points for personality already, so her chances of me liking her increase just by the act itself. To encourage her to continue that practice, I would probably go out with her once, as men say, give me a chance, even if I did not think it was likely to go anywhere beyond that. Story 2. How can I possibly know if she is my type without getting to know her? I will say yes to going out for coffee, going to the zoo, rock climbing, top golf, or whatever. Even if we do not click and live happily ever after, we can still have a nice day. Story 3. Stop overthinking it and take your chance. The worst that can happen is he says no, and you both move on. Story 4. Not my type or not attracted to. I have been asked out by all of my girlfriends to date. I am not sure I have a type, to be honest. Story 5. She was the one who approached me first, and from that moment, everything changed. I have been completely and hopelessly in love with her ever since. I think about her every minute of every day. Every love song suddenly feels like it was written for us. Every adorable animal reminds me of her warmth, her smile, and her laugh. Every small joy in my day somehow leads back to her. Her taste in music is slightly different from mine, but it is beautiful in its own way, just like her. She wears all black, but she is the brightest part of my world. Her love, her presence, and her affection light up everything in my life. What do you mean, not your type? She is everything I never knew I needed. She is the only type that matters. Story 6. Not my type. It could be anything from slim with a cute face to 300 pounds with a septum piercing. You have to be specific. Story 7. If she is not my type, then 0%. Why would I say yes to someone I am not attracted to? If she is my type, then 100%. Story 8. What females need to know is that men really do not have specific types. It basically comes down to this, and anybody who wants to call me misogynistic, fine. Is she annoying? Is she interested in me? Is she single? Does she like spending time with me? Do I like spending time with her? Are we sexually compatible? There you go. Story 9. If she is not my type, then no. Do not waste time because you are afraid of letting someone down or something. Say yes for the right reasons. Story 10. When I was single, if I found her attractive and she did not act creepy, I would always say yes. If I did not find her attractive, I was always politely rejecting them. It happens, no big deal. Story 11. I am going to be honest with you. No matter what, if I am not attracted, I will turn her down gently, telling her I am flattered and how brave she is for going through with it. Story 12. 0. Because my mental and financial situation is incompatible with having a relationship or even a friendship. Story 13. Depends on the approach, situation, and vibe, but if I felt good about the person, I would go for coffee or lunch. Story 14. 0%, even if she was my type. I am far too old and set in my ways. Besides, between my job and taking care of my special needs brother, I do not have time for a relationship. Story 15. Very unlikely. A woman approaching a man is rare, and a woman approaching me is definitely some kind of scam. Story 16. Very likely, but I will be very anxious. I have social anxiety, so imagine me with girls, especially if one talks to me first. Story 17. Even if she is not your type. If she was not my type, I would decline if she asked me on a date. If it was a situation like I am at a cafe and she asks if she can join me, I would be open to just about anyone doing that, male or female. It does not mean I would linger long if I decide I do not like her, but I am not going to refuse to interact at all with a woman just because she is not my type. Story 18. Willingness to put in effort matters far more than any type, so success is almost guaranteed unless there is a blatant red flag. Story 19. I am honestly not quite sure. I have been approached before, but I do not remember ever saying yes. I would be a bit on guard if a stranger approached me. That is what happens when you grow up in New York City, I guess. I think I would be very suspicious. It would be a different story if it were a social area like a bar or tennis club, or if I knew the person at least in passing, like at a gym, or if I had ample reason to believe that I was not going to get stabbed or scammed. I think if I were reasonably sure that I was not going to get stabbed, I would go on a date with her at least and see where it goes. Story 20. This actually happened to me once. I always thought I would say yes to at least a first date, but I was so taken by surprise that I could not react in the moment. I just laughed it off and stopped talking to her because I was so shocked. I thought I was about to be scammed. Story 21. The likelihood is 0. It does not matter who the person is, the answer would be the same. She cannot be my type because I do not have a type. I gave up on dating a long time ago. It did not happen in the more than 20 years I tried because I failed every single attempt at meeting someone. I never even went on a date, let alone had a girlfriend. I can only take failure for so long, so now I am not interested anymore. Story 22. Depends. If a girl approaches me first and is cute, flirty, and has a good personality, I definitely have a chance of saying yes if she wants to see me again or ask for my number. I will also say no if a girl is too forward. For example, I went to a friend's party a few years ago, and one of the random girls got up, approached me and said, "Interested in spending time with me tonight?" I said no. Story 23. What do you mean by my type? If she is attractive but not the usual look I go for, I would say yes. If I was not attracted, I would say no. Story 24. Unlikely because I do not believe any girl would walk up to me genuinely. Either my organs are in danger or I am being set up for a social media prank. Story 25. It depends on the situation. A woman my age in the grocery store is as calm as can be. But if a woman half my age starts hitting on me at a bar or concert, I think she might have a couple of guys bigger than me who will follow us home and rob me. Story 26. The last girl who approached me was absolutely not my type. She was too young and grew up in a totally different country, so we had nothing in common. To make matters worse, she was actually ambitious and had a bright future ahead of her, while I was doing the absolute bare minimum to get by and have fun with my unmotivated friends. That was 25 years ago, and we have been together ever since. We just celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary last month. She inspired me to get my life together, so I will always be grateful for that. Story 27. My preferences are very diverse when it comes to women. Basically, I am open to whatever works for the individual. I would be very likely to say yes if she is not unpleasant. Story 28. I have said yes to women who approached me first, whom I probably would not have approached because their confidence was very attractive. Some of my better relationships are with such women. A woman who has an attractive personality instantly becomes much more physically attractive to me. Story 29. Depends on how she looks, but since I am married now, it does not matter. Advice for single guys. Assess her personality even if you are attracted to her. I made a mistake once when a decent-looking woman approached me and was quite flirty and insistent. It ended with me having to call the police for stalking after a few weeks. Story 30. Mostly depends on how old she looks. Sorry, not sorry. If she is as old as my parents with a 20-year age gap, it is going to be a pass. Story 31. I do not always say yes to those girls. However, when I do, it turns out to be the worst 5 years of my life. Story 32. You have made my life so much easier, so you will probably get a chance to see if we are compatible in ways that are not perceptible at the first meeting. If it seems like we are not compatible long-term, I am probably going to be turned on by the confidence. Story 33. She is getting points in my book. I fully encourage you and any other woman who reads this thread to know that men truly appreciate you showing interest, and it positively influences my thoughts about the idea of dating you. Story 34. It depends on whether I am attracted or not, and if there are any warning signs. Physical attraction is essential for me, and I learned a long time ago not to ignore the warning signs. Story 35. The only time I would say no is if she demanded energy, like, take me here or do this. Demands are not attractive. Otherwise, I would at least strongly consider it. Why not? She might have interests, personality, and compatibility. Attraction is nice, but not the be-all and end-all. Story 36. 100% of the time, I rarely get hit on. It happens so rarely that I can remember the last time it happened was 9 years ago. Story 37. I always say yes if I can. I know how hard it is to take initiative. This is one of the changes in the world I love to see. When this happened to me last time, I made sure that when I showed up to the coffee date, I had long-term intentions in mind. That shows how much I respect it, love it, and will always welcome it. Story 38. At the moment, 0% because I am in a relationship, but when I was single, I was open to anyone who asked me out. Story 39. If I were not experiencing some mental health challenges right now, I would say there is an 85 to 90% chance I would say yes. Story 40. This one is complicated. A girl has never approached me before as a cold open, but girls have asked me out before. Unfortunately, I didn't feel the same way about any of them. Just guessing, since I'm generally around people my age, the chances of someone of a preferable age approaching me are higher. If we consider the chances that one of the girls at the place I'm usually at, my university, asks me out, I'd say 40 to 50%. I find about 40 to 50% of the girls at my university physically attractive. This might change once I know a girl, and it has, but I'm assuming I don't know the girl. There is a different question about whether I believe her or not, or if it is just a joke. If I was taken, that number would be 0% chance I'd say yes regardless. Story 41. Depends on what you mean by type, not your perfect preference. Most men do not even have that kind of standards. Someone you are not attracted to? No, simply approaching first will not make me go out with someone I am not attracted to. Story 42. I am in a relationship. If I were single, it would depend on how she looks. I mean, if I do not know her, I would have to go by looks and later on change my opinion. Story 43. She approached me, so I seem to be her type. I would go out with her at least once to see how we connect. The worst case scenario is that we both realize it is not going to work, but hopefully we at least have a nice time together. Story 44. I do not think any man will change his mind about you just because you approach first. However, I do not believe that is why you are asking. What you want to do is find a way to confidently determine how to only approach men who will say yes. An important thing to understand is that this is not possible. It is not that there is some secret to hidden communication that you have not discovered. The information simply is not being communicated. You have to ask. Story 45. She is already standing out from every other woman in the world by doing that. It does two things in one move: shows confidence and makes me feel wanted. Any woman who does these things deserves my attention. Story 46. I was at a party back in 2015, and this blonde woman made the first move and approached me. The next day, she called me to ask me out for drinks that night. We have been together for 10 years and married for 5. Story 47. Depends if she is not my type or I am not attracted to her. If she is just not my type but still attractive and kind, she has a shot. If there is no attraction, flattered but no. The first thing I would think is, where is the hidden camera? Story 48. That's basically how every one of my relationships started. I am particularly oblivious to hints or signals. Every one of them said they had been hinting for weeks, got fed up, and finally just came out with it. Story 49. I do not have that specific type, though I have preferences, so the key is whether I see something that is a turn-off or a deal-breaker. If not, the chance is high. Story 50. I cannot speak for all men, but I feel men are more polite when approached by a woman. This is something that rarely happens, and we all know how it feels to do the approaching, so you will definitely gain some points for making the first move. However, it is important to acknowledge that this does not guarantee a date, and how you react in that situation is just as important. When I was younger, a few women approached me, and despite politely turning them down in the nicest way possible, I was hit, called names, and made out to be some sort of monster. If you receive rejections, do not turn nasty or try to pursue him as if it is a game. Politely exit the situation. You can thank him for his time and apologize for any inconvenience. Do this, and there is a chance he will change his mind and go on a date with you. I truly believe I would have changed my mind and given a girl a chance if one of them had not turned nasty the moment I declined her advances, as I have never met a woman mature enough to accept rejection. Story 51. If she is not my type, I am going to say no. If she is my type, I am going to say yes. What were you expecting? Story 52. Define type? As in, I don't find her attractive? No similarities in hobbies, interests, or morals. There is a reason you specify not being your type, which leads me to believe there is a preconceived notion that the person would not be interested. Story 53. Not being my physical type is not enough reason to not give her a chance. She would already be special just by making the move. Story 54. A woman approaching me is 1,000 times more attractive. Even if I never imagined a relationship with her, I would likely be immediately enamored. Story 55. It really depends. Once, I went for chicken wings with a couple of friends at a bar in Toronto. I got there early and decided to have a beer at the bar while waiting for my friends. An attractive woman approached me and asked, "Are you here waiting for someone?" I replied, "Yes, I have a couple of friends showing up." She said, "You guys are probably here looking for women. All you guys think about is sex." I responded, "Not true, at least not for me." She said, "I call BS. If you thought you could sleep with me, you would jump at the chance." Looking her over and getting a creepy vibe, I replied, "No, I wouldn't." She called me a liar and said, "If I told you my place is around the corner and we should go have sex right now, you would say no?" I said, "Correct, that's what I'm saying." She said, "Okay, I will prove you wrong. Let's go." I asked, "Go where?" She replied, "Back to my place." I said, "No thanks," and slowly moved away. She asked, "You want me to believe that you would turn down sex with no strings attached?" I said, "Yes, not interested." She shouted, "Liar!" Just as my friends walked in. She stormed away. My buddy looked at me and said, "You shouldn't hit on women so aggressively." The creepy vibe was strong. I bet she kept a butcher knife beside the bed. Story 56. Damn it, when it is a stranger asking me something, whether they are selling something or anything like that, I tend to say yes at first and start regretting it afterward, just because I am too shy to say no to them. Story 57. Very likely. I used to be like that. The last time it happened was over 20 years ago, and we have been together since. Story 58. I would definitely entertain a conversation and see where it leads. Having the confidence to approach a man is attractive. Story 59. I would probably say yes 100% of the time, but I am not certain since no woman has ever approached me. Story 60. 99%. Seriously, if a woman asks me out, I will say yes the vast majority of the time. The only reason I would say no is if I already know her and do not like her. However, every woman I know is already taken, so I highly doubt that would happen. Story 61. Not really likely. I don't think that's my thing. I'd chat for sure, but I need to know the person at least partially before committing to anything. Story 62. It does not work that way. I have to be attracted to her. You will not get a 100% chance of success when approaching someone. Story 63. Either she is my type or she is not. That does not magically change based on who approaches first. Story 64. More than likely, even if she is not my type, I will say yes unless she is overweight. I live an active, healthy lifestyle, and someone who is overweight will not be able to keep up and do the activities I enjoy. Story 65. I am more likely to say yes personally, but I have always been attracted to confident women, so it is a turn-on. Also, as men, we do not often feel desired by women because we tend to do the chasing. Therefore, the idea that a woman desires you enough to approach you directly immediately makes me see her in a desirable light as well. Story 66. If she is not repulsive to me in some way, there is a 90% chance. If they are repulsive, there is 0% chance. In this case, repulsive means they clearly show red flags. Story 67. Of course, it increases your odds. I hate approaching women as a stranger, and online dating is terrible. What it comes down to is whether I want a relationship at the moment you ask me and if I find you attractive. I would really like to see a culture that is more comfortable with rejection for both men and women. Expressing interest does not have to be inappropriate, and declining interest should not be hurtful. Story 68. So far, I have always said yes. Even with one I was not very attracted to, the effort was appreciated, and we did have a good couple of years in the relationship. Story 69. I would be flattered, of course, but politely decline. As a lifelong singleton, I have no interest in playing catch-up at my age. Story 70. So she gets points for effort. But she still has to overcome the physical attraction hurdle if that is what you mean by type. However, I believe men do not really have types. A woman either gives you the tingles or she does not. In my experience when single, the more unattractive the woman, the more direct the approach because unattractive women have to hustle and attractive women do not. This is basic hypergamy. If women want to date up, they have to put in more work. If a man wants to level up, he must as well. As men, we can only ever hope to be with a woman equally attractive as ourselves. Women never date down. Every now and then, an attractive woman would hit on me or was more circumspect, but I read the signs. Story 71. Depends on the instant chemistry, my immediate attraction to her, and if I am looking for some fun with a lady that evening or in the near future if she came up to me at work or something. A couple of girls I have dated whom I thought were not my type based on appearance and their interests ended up having more chemistry and things in common with me than girls who I thought were my type. Those instances have made me realize I do not have a type per se. I go purely based on attraction and basic chemistry. Story 72. It depends on the woman. I am not going to say yes just because she approached me. However, I will say that it takes a lot of pressure off the man, and you will earn significant points in your favor for doing so. Story 73. Always say no when they want money or think you are attractive. There is nothing real, only if I knew her as a good friend for a long time. But at that point, they feel like siblings. So no, I am going to focus on increasing my money and live alone. Story 74. If I am not attracted to her, then I probably would not say yes, but I would be polite about it. If I were attracted to her, then I would be very impressed and definitely say yes. Story 75. If I am single and she passes the attractiveness test, then the likelihood I say yes to the initial approach is 100%. Story 76. I do not have time for games. If she is not my type, nothing is going to make me say yes. If she is my type and I were single, I would say yes. Story 77. Before I got married, my partner was always saying yes. It literally never happened. But I want it to happen more for people out there, so be the change. This social construct of only men asking needs to go. Story 78. If she is not my type in any way, why would I say yes? I would absolutely respect the courage and assertiveness, but I am not going to say yes to someone just because they asked. Story 79. If she is not my type, then no. If I am sober or buzzed, I will politely say no and try to refer her to a friend. If I am intoxicated, I may behave poorly. Story 80. There is a good chance that she would have an opportunity to show more unless I have zero physical attraction, which is unlikely. Story 81. I am a girl and I have noticed that men are kinder than women when it comes to rejecting someone. Even if the answer is no, it is a lot nicer and sweeter when I ask them out. Some men might say yes because confidence is attractive, but I believe being kinder is better than leading someone on. Story 82. The last time that happened to me, I got played big time, so I think I would be very suspicious if it happens to me again. Story 83. I would like to say I would give her a chance like others say, even if we do not seem compatible. But the truth is, no matter who it is, I would not believe them. Story 84. If I find her attractive 100%, I would still be somewhat cautious of possible pranks, to be honest. If I did not find her attractive, I would politely refuse because I would not be interested and I would not want to waste either of our time. Story 85. It varies. If I know her and she is definitely not my type, I would say no. If there is a hint of possibility, I would say yes and see how far it goes. Story 86. When I was younger, I would have almost certainly said yes to any girl who did not set off warning bells. Considering the relationships I was in throughout most of my life, clearly the part of my brain that was supposed to set off those warning bells did not work when it came to romantic partners. Now that I am getting uncomfortably close to 60, I have been single for a while and have come to realize I like it and have no desire to go back to the way things were. The only time in years anyone has shown any interest in me was when word got out that I had money. I am not rich, but when you live in an area with a weak economy, just having your debts paid off and being able to retire early is notable. Well, I hit a major milestone that I was proud of and mentioned it to my mother. She, in turn, told everyone, including my sister. By the time it made it around the local old lady gossip network version of the telephone game, I am sure it had been embellished somewhat. Suddenly, I was getting a lot of attention. Even my sister's friend, who had never had a kind word for me in the 20 years I had known her, asked me out. The two of us are about as opposite as you can get on any subject you care to name. I thought it was some setup for a joke at first. Even I was not dumb enough to think that her whole worldview changed overnight. She is just stuck working retail and must be pretty desperate for someone to fund her retirement if she was willing to try her luck with me. Story 87. Recently, I have been interested in learning about different people. As long as I do not hear that they are married or under 18, I will give it a shot. Story 88. Recently, I have been interested in learning about different people. As long as I do not hear that they are married or under 18, I will give it a shot. Story 89. It's kind of intimidating. That's a man's job, but if she does not come at me aggressively and is more passive, as if trying to pull me towards her, then for sure I am going to say yes. Just do not be upfront about it because I still want to lead. Story 90. Had it happen once and it was awesome. She was really cool and it was very memorable. She was a regular at my workplace and caught me on a day off when I was using the pool. We had a solid run for a while. Story 91. It's not a matter of probability. It depends on who she is. Being a single straight male, if I do not see anything obviously wrong, such as being overweight, the wrong age, obviously drug impaired, or carrying a small noisy dog in her handbag, I would be prepared to respond with a suggestion to meet up later and learn more about each other. There are many things that could interfere with developing a successful relationship. Not my type may not be obvious. However, I would be willing to give the benefit of the doubt and find out more. Story 92. If she is not my type, I am guaranteed not to say yes. But if I find her attractive, sure, I will give her my number. Why not? Story 93. Knowing how difficult this is for women to do, I would not only accept the date but go out and make sure that we had a great time. Even if I realized that you were not the person for me, that is okay because I respect the courage it took for you to do what you did, and I would want you to have a good experience from this so that you go forward doing it again and asking men out. I wish more people thought of things that way, male and female, because a lot of times people react badly to someone just trying to do something, and then they look at that person like they did something wrong when they no longer want to try again. For example, many men no longer approach women because at one point in time certain women made it seem like it was a bad idea, that they did not want that. So many men said, okay, well, we are not doing it. And now women are like, oh, I wish men would approach us. This is what happens when you give people bad reactions to things. So I would never want to do that to a woman who is trying to reach out to men and say, hey, I would like to take you out. Whether I am into it or not, you would not know. I would go along with it. I would not get into a relationship with you, nothing mean like that, but I would definitely make sure it was a good date. If we are just not compatible, that is fine, but I would not throw you off from the experience of asking men out in general. Because honestly, all it takes is one man to say, oh no, I am not going with you, or to say some ignorant stuff like that, and that woman might never ask another man out again. I really wish more people thought about things like that, how their interactions affect others not just in the moment but long term. And not only them, but every person they come into contact with after that experience. Story 94. If she is not my type, I am not saying yes. If she is my type, then absolutely, let us go and see if we are compatible. Story 95. Every relationship I have ever been in has been with a confident woman who approached me first. As a shy man, I do not date shy women. I have always dated the opposite of my personality. Story 96. Very likely. As long as she is sincere, a woman who approaches me first instantly becomes much more attractive. Story 97. Say yes to what exactly? Who am I kidding? The answer is probably yes. Likely a wary yes, since I suspect she wants something from me or it is some sort of prank or joke. My go-to type is not the only type of woman I've found physically and otherwise attractive. Short and stacked is a longer-running trend, but I have been attracted to some thinner and taller women in my life. Her showing active, sincere interest in me already adds a couple of points on whatever attractiveness scale. Story 98. Very unlikely because if she approached first, I would either think she wants something from me or is playing a joke or dare from friends. Story 99. My current girlfriend came up to me at a concert we attended alone. We started talking randomly, and I asked for her phone number afterward. If you get the opportunity, you should take it because if she had not started the conversation, we would have passed by each other. Story 100. How do you know she is not your type the moment she approaches you? Are you judging solely by looks or body shape? As for me, I would not just say yes, I would say hell yes. Story 101. If I thought the approach was genuine and I were not already married, it would not affect my attraction to that woman. It might even make me feel slightly more attracted to her. In my 52 years, this has never happened even once. As for saying yes, if I thought she was even a little pretty, I would say yes. I would have nothing else to go on besides that information at the time. If I knew her and liked her personality, my physical standards would probably decrease slightly, but I certainly would not say yes to someone I did not know and also thought was unattractive. If she is not asking me out on a date, but just approaching me to be friendly, then I would definitely chat with her or sit with her for lunch, regardless of how she looks. However, I have never asked a girl out on a date without already knowing something about her, except for one online date that was horrible. Story 102. Very low. I think I have only had more than a couple of drinks with one or two women who have approached me in my life. Story 103. If I were not already taken, yes. In the past, women approached men first. Then ideologies changed and men were expected to approach first, but they usually do not. It has been problematic since. We need to return to women approaching first. Story 104. I am an adult, so I am only helping a girl in need of an adult due to an accident or emergency. If we are talking about women, it depends on who she is and what she is asking me to say yes or no to. Story 105. I instantly find a woman more attractive if she approaches me first. At minimum, I would have a good impression of her, and chances are I would say yes to a date. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.